On the cloud. All right, well, fantastic. Hey, Mitch Ryback, thank you so much for joining us today for a quick interview in your experience from transitioning from a broker owner into becoming part of EXP and becoming brokered by EXP. Mitch, would you just introduce yourself to everyone and just tell them a little bit of your path of real estate so far?
Sure. Mitch Ryback. I was a broker and owner. Been an entrepreneur since I was 19. Owned 22 companies over the last 38 years, everything you could possibly think of, pretty much. And got into real estate in 2001. Started my team in 2004. Started my brokerage in 2005. And the rest is history. I thought I was going to be this rock star brokerage owner and sell my company for billions of dollars, and that didn't happen, which is why I'm here.
Well, and to be fair, you were fairly successful as a broker, right? And so just after a few years of focusing hard, you built that team to about how many people?
Yeah, when we peaked, we were doing 120 agents, 700 transactions, $4.5 million a year revenue.
Right, and so
we did really well.
Yeah, and so you have a great top line number, but to run that bricks and mortar business is fairly expensive, right?
Yeah. So one of the challenges, first of all, it cost me 100 grand a month to run that organization, which was obviously a lot of money. And as the market became better and better, the splits had to become higher and higher to be competitive in the world, especially against all the franchises that were trying to recruit all of our agents. So I had to increase my fees, which, if you just do the numbers alone, and I'm very transparent when I talk about this, we did $4.5 million in revenue. We had $1.2 million in expenses, but I had a 75% split. So if you do the numbers, that's 1.175 in revenue, or 1.125 in revenue. So therefore, that's negative $75,000 a year. That's right. It's a great business. I love the model.
I heard someone a week or two ago talk about that's why they call us brokers, is because we're brokers than our agents, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was with a broker yesterday that's switching over to us, and great people. I've known them for years, and they just ultimately they just can't do it. Everybody on their team's done an 80% split, and their office is costing them $15,000 a month just for their space. When you walk in the door, they don't do a ton of business, and they've lost a ton of money. So, this is the best answer for them.
Absolutely. And so when you're running a brokerage, and I have a friend who is running 4 offices, and she told me that her nut to crack every month was $75,000 on the first, right? So how does it feel as a broker to know that you have that overhead on the first of every month, and you need to make that before you make $1?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad except for January and February. So, it was part of the business. I knew I was going to lose money, but the problem was January and February, I didn't lose a little bit of money. I lost a ton of money. So I'd lose about $80,000 to $100,000 every January and February because the agents stopped working in November and December. So I started off the year $80,000 to $100,000 negative. And trying to recover that, we just got to, if we made a profit that year, we got to break even around August. August to September. And so the challenge was 80 hours a week, working my tail off, and no end in sight. No end in sight. So what happened to me, and I'll tell you the quick story on it, because I think there's a lot of brokers that will relate to this. I owned another company at the time called Inside Sales Agents, and I was working there about 50 hours a week. And I was working in the real estate company about 50 hours a week. So I was doing about 100 hours a week working, not a very fun life. And something had to give. So I'd been offered a couple times. Remax offered me a sizable chunk of money to sell the company to them. And then C21 came in and offered me $3.5 million. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So we sat down and we really worked on the numbers and how does that look for me. And there were a couple of problems which I didn't anticipate, or I never would have started a brokerage. So, and by the way, owning a brokerage was worse than owning a restaurant to me. Because I couldn't control my agents. I couldn't help my agents get to where they wanted to be, because I think I've said this to you before, their expectations were not my expectations. Right? So what they wanted to do, what I wanted to do were two different things. So anyway, they wanted me to sign an employment contract for 40 hours a week. I couldn't do that, obviously, because I had the other company. So that was a deal breaker. But I think I could have negotiated that, to be honest. But the one that wasn't negotiable to them was I got a little bit of money the first year, a little bit of money the second year. My third year would be my final payout, would be based on the retention of the 120 agents I came over with. So I just said to them, I said, so if 50% of those people leave, does that mean my 3.5 goes down to 1.75? They said yes, and I immediately said no. I said, I can't be relying on you now running this business the way I run this business and do retention. So at that point, I was pretty stuck. But I also took a step back and looked at my agents, because I love my agents. I never would have been where I was then or today, because even though I wasn't making a ton of money, I made a good living. You know, I was always managed to squeak out a profit, and I had some ancillary businesses that made me money. But the reason why I was where I was my agents. And even today, that's still the same case, obviously. So I stepped back and I said, what were my agents going to get when I sold the company, if I sold the company? And the reality is they're getting nothing. They're getting me begging them to stay for 3 years so I get my full payout. That just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So, there's this concept that I throw out there when I'm talking to folks, and everyone seems to agree with it. Sometimes when I talk to brokers, they get upset on this phraseology. So I'm going to apologize in advance, but I believe that there's no brokerage worth anything without its agents, right? So when a company's looking at buying out a broker, they look at your agents, the money that comes in, and the money they think they're going to retain, and they offer you a percentage of that for that period of time. But the agents never get any part of it, right? So when I tell agents that I believe that there's no brokerage worth anything without them, the agents always agree. How do you feel about that statement from the broker owner standpoint?
Well, it's, there's brokers that aren't going to like what I'm going to say right now either. So the reality is as a broker, my job was to convince my agents that they were there because of me, right? That they were successful because of me. But that's not the reality. The reality is that an agent is successful wherever they are if they're successful, right? So the true story is the only thing a broker has is their agents. Because right now in this world, everybody has technology to a degree. Everybody has training available online. Everybody has all that stuff. But what a broker's job is to do is to convince their agents of their brand. We're a big brand here. We get 700 transactions a year. Is to convince their agents that they're successful because of me, because of my brand. And the reality is I was only successful because of my agents. And without my agents, I had nothing. So I had to convince them that they were only successful because they were with us.
Right. Right.
That's every broker buy. That's the whole business model for brokerages. Every I call it brand prison, right? So you have this brand, and you are a part of that brand. It's not the number one question I get when I'm talking to I'll give you an example. I talked to a Caldwell Banker agent yesterday, and they're going to make $90,000 or more just for the straight switch with us. And she's like, well, what about the brand? I go, so you're telling me you're successful only because of the brand? That's just not real.
Right.
So a long way to get to the answer of your question. Yes, I 100% believe that all we have as brokers is agents.
Well, great. So, and you're not direct to me in the company. One of our partners, one of our agents, went to an event where you were speaking, was impressed by you, approached you, and it took us about 6 months from that time to actually get into real conversation.
It was 2 years.
It was 2 years. Okay.
Yeah, it was 2 years. Yeah. So Howard, introduced me, and here's the problem. My ego got in the way, so I wouldn't even look at it. I'm a big broker. At the time, I was district vice president of Florida for where I'm at. I'm important in my own brain, right? I drive a really nice car. I wear fancy suits. Still broke, but But the reality is, yeah, I wouldn't even look at it. And I didn't look at it until a year and a half later when I couldn't sell the company. I'm like, oh my God, how do I get out? What's my exit strategy? And more importantly, and this is really something I hope people will pay attention to. If Tropical Realty at that time, if I died, Tropical Realty disperses. They go, my agents go everywhere, right? My family gets what? Absolutely zero. And that scared the heck out of me. Because I built this business that I thought I could sell, and now I can't sell it. What happens to my family? You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have 401ks. I don't have all this stuff because I always dumped all my money back into my businesses. So that freaked me out. And so that was when I called Jason Gessling and met him in New York. And my biggest issue for me, and I know this for a lot of brokers, is I spent 14 years building a great brand. I didn't want to lose my brand. He says, well, you don't have to. Just be Tropical Realty Beachside brokered by EXP. And that was where I started moving forward. And then I spent 6 months, actually about 5 months, doing my homework. And at the time, there wasn't a broker like me to call because there was no real brokers that had come over. There were some little brokers, but there's nobody my size and my volume to call and say, so how did that work? What happened? And I told Jason, I said, well, I guess I'm going to be the guinea pig for EXP. And I'm so glad that I decided to take that risk because it's opened the door for our company to grow further with other brokers. And I've helped so many brokers join our company now because of my experience. And we've been able to tailor programs with EXP to make the transition really, really smooth. I know we just brought on recently a 50 agent group that was onboarded in 48 hours. Pretty amazing.
Absolutely. So, when you and I were talking during that due diligence process and we were crunching the numbers on what it would look like if you shut down your bricks and mortar operations and really outsource the entire back end of the brokerage and just focused on the things that you have the most fun in, right? Supporting your people and talking to people about why they should, work with you and your value proposition and all of those kind of things. One of the things that you told me that was a huge piece was how it affected your agents who were working at your brokerage and how their opportunities shifted if they came with you to EXP. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, again, it was a scary time for everybody, and I'm blessed to have people that, that trust me in what we did. But they all got the opportunity, and they got it right away. And the way I did it, which, by the way, I would do it a little bit differently now, but the way I did it is at this point, I got rid of a lot of agents. I got rid of 50 agents that were all brand new and changed my mindset to not work with brand new agents anymore, but only work with agents that don't need as much hand holding. And that saved me a fortune in overhead, about $275,000 a year that saved me. And so we got down to 65 agents, still had 19 agents that were new. But I met with 34 of my agents that did 92% of the business. And I sat there as best as I could explain it at that time, which, was really pretty bad. Look, firstly, you're all going to get a raise. Secondly, you're all going to have an opportunity to create something more than I can give you as a broker. And again, my agents come first in my life back then. They did. That's why I was working so many hours. And when I say 100 hours a week, with 50 being the other company and 50 being the brokerage, I'm sure that was a very low estimate. And so they 100% bought in. They appreciated the fact that I was willing to help them get to that next level. And, some of the stories that have come out of that are just amazing. I've got people that are, they're only paying for their car payment every month with what we offer. I have others that are paying for college for their daughter. I mean, it's just amazing that gift that I've been able to give them. But more importantly, so I lost the ISA company in November. It was closing out like February, March. But more importantly is the freedom I have now and the less stress because I'm not dealing with that accounting stuff and all that back end stuff. The marketing materials, we don't have to have a marketing department anymore because the marketing department we have at EXP is amazing. So all the stress that I had of running the brokerage is gone. So the last 2 years, I've had a ball. I'm enjoying myself. I've been able to spend more time with my family, which I've never done. I made a commitment to my grandkids because I didn't do it for my kids because I worked 80 hours a week my whole life. I spend more time with my grandkids. My granddaughter's got a great voice and she's a singer. My other grandson's playing baseball, so I'm with them all the time. I can spend more time with my wife. We actually get to know each other now. It's kind of cool. I don't know if she likes me anymore now, but we get to spend more time together. So it's been, for myself, it's been an amazing blessing. And for my agents, and here's what I told my agents and this is, again, pretty hardcore, but what I told them, I said, look, I know this is a risk for all of us, again, because at the time we had 2,800 agents with EXP. Nobody had heard of us here. If we don't like this in 6 months, we'll switch back. And I told that to everybody. And they said, okay. And at the end of 6 months, I talked to all of them, and nobody wanted to switch back. And here's the cool thing. Out of the original 40 that I switched over with, 37 is still with me. Now, and the 3 that left didn't have 10 transactions between them. Pretty powerful stuff. And I think that's a huge testament to EXP and what we've done as a company, because as much as my agents love me, if this wasn't good for their family, they would not be with me. Pretty simple, right?
Absolutely. So, so when you came over, I think it was 40, 50 people or so when you started, and I know that there was an extended period of time where you were shutting down another company, and now you've been focusing on growth for yourself and your team members and all of that kind of stuff. Talk a little bit about the caliber of people that you're able to get in business with that aren't just agents from the local area, which you would have spent all your time attracting in the old business model, but talk about the caliber of people that you're able to get in business, outside of that local market to help you grow.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of agents in San Diego, for instance. Brought on a friend in San Diego, and he got it. We have, I think, about 75 agents in that area. So, and they're doing, transactions at $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million transactions. Our average price here is $200,000. The quality of people that are attracted to this model are the best. I mean, some of the best people in the country is switching over, but that's also how I've grown. I mean, I've introduced, between me and my assistant, about 50 people. Those 50 people have introduced over 400. So it's pretty, the way it grows is pretty amazing. And I would never have had that ability as a broker, a local broker, to expand outside my little market, unless I wanted to open more offices in different places or get licensed in different places. I'm in 24 states right now. And honestly, I really haven't worked that hard doing it. I work about, 3-4 hours a week on attracting people personally. And then I spend a lot of time now helping the people in my organization attract people and do whatever they want. If they want to learn real estate and how to sell more homes, I teach them that, which I love to do. If they want to introduce people to the company, I teach them that. So it's really, I get to do what I'm passionate about, which is helping people without the stress of having the brokerage behind me and make more money than I made back then.
I love that. I love that. And so, growing from 50 to about 400 is pretty cool stuff. If you were a conservative betting person and you were forecasting a year from now, where are you forecasting your 400 number being?
Yeah, so I've got it forecasted to, January 2021, that I'll be at about 1,360 people.
Nice.
And that's if things stay the way they are. I actually anticipate, because I'm seeing it right now, our growth curve is moving very quickly. I know you're seeing this right now. So I actually think that growth rate is going to increase. I projected a decrease because I'm a conservative guy when it comes to projections. So I didn't want to over project, but based on low projection, I think I did it at a 4% growth, which I've been averaging 7%.
Yeah.
4% growth will get me over 13. I think 1362 if you want to be exact.
Yeah. And so, if you would talk about the difference between, net profit income of running a brokerage and having your license on the line every day, even when you're on vacation, in supervising those agents, and the difference of receiving passive income and how you feel about those two things.
Well, I absolutely love the 22nd of the month. It's a great day in our EXP neighborhood, right? And it's not about, to me, I mean, I'm doing way better now. I mean, again, working less, making more. But to me, it isn't as much about today. It's about, from a passive income standpoint, that I know that next year, the year after, that income's continuing to come in. And my work schedule is going to get lower and lower and lower on what I have to do. I mean, my goal on January 9th, 2020, I'm cutting down 20 hours. That's when I hit that number. That's my number. And I go down to 20 hours a week. At least for real estate. I have other charity stuff that, with my granddaughter that I'm going to do, spend like 100 hours a week doing. But my real estate business is going down to 20 hours a week. And I could never have done that with a brokerage. There's no way. I mean, the brokerage there was no way out with the brokerage. That's the sad truth for all of us as a brokerage, is we act like we're doing really, really well because that's how you attract agents. But the reality is I don't know too many brokers in the country that I've met with. I've met with hundreds and hundreds of them, both with EXP and both in my training world for the last 15 years, that are making money. So the broker out there, you might be making money, but are you making, what is your hourly rate? If you're making $100,000 of profit working 80 hours a week, is that really a job? Is that really a business? Or do you really have a job? I didn't want a job.
Well, what's funny is, oftentimes I'll talk to brokers, and even they'll say they're making a decent number, right? And they talk about owning a business, but the reality of it is they own a job. They're doing the job of the broker owner, right? All of those responsibilities. If you really owned a business, you could own the business, have someone running the business, and then you share in that net profit of the business. And most brokers do not make enough money where they could hire someone as good as them to run their business. So this really gets you out of that area where you can apply your talent to activities that are more high-minded and will pay you at a higher rate. One of the things that you mentioned earlier, and you and I have been in the business long enough that we all know people who are running a brokerage and have passed, right? And then their agents, were loyal to them or that particular brand. And like you said, they disperse, they go to, whoever is offering them the best deal. And there's no money there for the family of the person who built that brokerage. And so now you've been here for a couple of years, and what would happen to the income that you have coming in if something should happen to you today? Would your family be taken care of in a better way?
Sure. So, great point. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons why I made the move, as I mentioned earlier, Lola, my granddaughter has a rare disease, and it's a big part of my life. And when I analyzed my brokerage at that moment, when I didn't sell the company, I really said, what happens to my family, right? As we just said. And the beauty of this, as long as somebody is licensed within your family, you can have a corporation set up and nothing changes. So if I died today, my money just moves over to that corporation. They just take my spot. And that's a beautiful thing that EXP has done for us, because I'll get teary-eyed talking about this and thinking about my granddaughter. But the reality is I worked my butt up my entire life to provide for my family. And in the end, if I die, I don't provide anything to my family. And now if I die, like I could retire today financially if I wanted to, because my revenue is that high, that good. And the beauty and the comfort in knowing that if I drop dead today, that my family goes on living without worrying about money. Where else do you get that? And the cool thing is, for me, on the amount of money that I'm making, I use this chart when I talk to people because I like them to understand. For me to earn what I'm earning today, I would have to have almost $6 million in the bank at 5% interest. There's no way in heck I was going to have $6 million in the bank at 5% interest. First of all, where are you going to get 5% interest, right? But I was the path I was on. I was never going to have $6 million in the bank to make what I'm making today.
Yeah, that's an amazing point, right? So when you value your brokerage, right? Everyone I've spoken to, that the offers they're getting are somewhere between 2 and 3.5%, or 2 to 3.5 times EBITDA, and that puts the value on the business. But when you're talking passive income, you can reverse engineer it and say, well, if I'm being paid X per month, I'd have to have Y number in an annuity or money market account, or high yield bond or something like that. And I think it's a way of validating or valuing your rev share, right? So if you would have to have had $6 million cash to be getting a yield that's going to give you the same amount that you're getting in rev share today, I think it's fair to say that's what the rev share is worth if it were,
Yeah, absolutely.
if it was a saleable item. So for you, about 2 years from the first conversation until you started digging into it, and then it was about 5 months once you started digging into it to get yourself into a position where you decided to move forward. And so at this point in the interview, if a broker is watching this, obviously they've had enough interest to make it this far. What would your recommendations be as far as moving forward for anyone considering to do that running a brokerage?
Yeah, so I'll tell you to do what I did. Is I looked in the mirror and I really said to myself, where am I at? Where do I see myself in 6 months? Where do I see myself in 5 years? And the 5 year was the number that really bothered me because I didn't see anything different. I saw me always fighting to survive, always fighting to earn a living. And I had to admit to myself that I wasn't making any real money. I said, I made a living. Don't get me wrong, I made a living. But, to make a $100,000 or $200,000 a year living wasn't going to get me to the next level. That's what it cost me to live. So if you're a broker out there and you're sitting there trying to figure out what the next 5 years looks like, let's have a conversation, because you have to be honest to yourself and with yourself that there's no way out of this business and without just giving everything away. When you can take what you have now and parlay that into a great business for your future. And there's so many instances that we can show that with EXP now over the last couple of years.
All right. Well, fantastic. Mitch, I know I've asked you a lot of questions along the way, a lot of great answers. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you that you'd like to share?
I think we covered most of it. I've never been shy on words. I think we covered most of it. I think we really, I just want people to keep an open mind. I said, if there's something else I could tell people, is keep an open mind. I didn't, and it cost me a fortune. When I started looking at the company, the stock was, I think, 19, 20 cents. And you got a lot more of it. I didn't pay attention. Don't let your ego block you. Just keep an open mind. If you don't like it when you look at it, that's great. It's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. But if you want to change your life, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, fantastic. One of the things that I like to close with people is this. If you're looking at it and you don't think it's for you, I would challenge anyone to keep asking questions. Because usually what I found with people is when they say, I don't think it's for me, what's happening is they misunderstood some element of the model. Because when they can articulate what's holding them back, there's never a reason to hold back. And so anyone listening to this, if you're thinking, not for me, I would challenge you to write out why it's not for you, and then get together with the person who got you to this video and to our website, and have them answer their questions. And if they can't get you in a place where it's an absolute no-brainer, then ask to speak with their upline partner. And that might be Mitch, it might be me, it might be someone else in the company. But for those of us who have been doing this long enough, we know that it's the right place for folks who are like-minded and high-minded. And so if you are a business person and you want to maximize your talent and your work ethic, this is absolutely the best place to be. Keep asking questions until it's a no-brainer.
And I do want to throw one more thing that I thought about, because my brain doesn't stop. A lot of brokers ask me about office space, and they ask me about expenses. So we were able to shave our expenses down 70% of what they were for our team now. And we still kept 2 offices, we just shrunk them. So because nobody comes in the office ever. So we kept we were able to cut our overhead, but still maintain a presence with our offices. But we went from 5,000 square feet in one office down to 200 square feet, and 3,600 square feet down to 1,200 square feet. So we really shaved probably, I don't know, $10,000 a month just off of that. So anyway, so those are things that we talk about when I talk to brokers about growing and looking at your expenses. How do we shave that? How do we, what about the office space? Because some people want to keep it. So I wanted to throw that in.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mitch, for giving up your time and giving us such great dialogue around there. And we're going to post this up for anyone in the group to share with any brokers that are thinking about what their alternatives are for an exit strategy. And thank you so much, Mitch, for sharing.
Sure, of course, always.
All right, thank you.